Hi, my name's Andy from Munch Creative, and I'm very excited to share with you my very first game, Stage 3. Stage 3 is a 4-player co-op game where you limit the number of infections and prevent patients heading to the ICU. This game was inspired by the recent pandemic that hit the world by storm, and governments enforced restrictions to help flatten the curve. When playing Stage 3, you play the role of a health worker to get much needed supplies of food, medicine, toilet paper, face masks to the neighbouring cities. Once a city has hit its capacity of infections, the ICU starts to fill up. If you get 8 ICUs, the game is over. You have 14 days to remove as many infections as possible and limit the number of patients heading to the ICU. Otherwise, the government will have no choice but to increase restrictions. Please note that throughout the video you will see a custom version of Stage 3. There are 3 different versions. There's an American edition, an Australian edition and a custom edition. You'll see all the details for these editions on the Kickstarter page. Right now I want to show you what makes Stage 3 unique. To win the game, your team will battle the infections for 14 days and have less than 8 patients in the ICU. The gameplay is simple. The player will pick up an infection card, then move their player 2 spaces. On the board, there are 4 different spaces that the player can land. There's the red space, the blue space, the black space, and the grey space. The red space is the infection cards, meaning the player will pick up that number of infections. The blue space is the health cards, where the player will pick up the number of health cards. The black space will add to the ICU, and the grey space represents the towns or the cities, depending on which edition you have. To make this challenging, we incorporated the rule of social distancing. If a player lands next to another player, every city will get an infection. This creates great conflict between the players. A player might have supplies needed for a city, but another player is in the way. Players are constantly working together to try to find the best and most efficient way to move around the board. The simple movement and the game board layout only increases the challenge as the game progresses. Within the health cards, there are medicine cards that combat the infections. There are essential supplies such as toilet paper, food, and face masks. And probably the most helpful card is the sanitiser card. If you place a sanitiser card at a city, what that will do is make that city immune from further infections for the following week. If your team can sanitize multiple cities, this will give you the greatest chance to win the game. "2020 has been a year that no one will forget. I hope that this game brings family and friends together to remind them of all the things that encapsulated this year. I trust that you will have as much fun playing Stage 3 as I have had creating it.